Tackle today, the Justice Brothers from Tackle Trading, bringing you all the charts, the news, the analysis, so you can start your day well informed. Earnings season underway. Nothing to report on the earnings front. That is going to change starting tomorrow, as we got a big lineup tomorrow. Technical breakout. Tech's leading, Matt. The technicals look really good. We talked about this technical situation. We talked about tech. We talked about AI in the Trading Justice podcast released yesterday. You have an AI event that you're doing in 2 days. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, AI Gold Rush, the next big investment wave. That is the webinar we do about once every 3, 4 months at Tackle Trading. And we're doing a little bit of an update on the watch list, the AI Gold Rush watch list this week as well. So come join me on October 16th. That's Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and it's free to register. So check the link in the description and hopefully we see you there.
Yeah, Matt, AI, you have done so much for me personally and helping understand the AI space. Be sure to check out, register for that webinar. Matt, my eyes, the spies continuing its breakout. My eyes can't get off the cues this morning, though. As you're breaking out of a horizontal resistance level there, we'll look there in a second. But break down the technicals, still looking pretty healthy.
Yeah, the Q story is pretty easy to understand here today. It's NVIDIA. We talk in NVIDIA and a little bit more NVIDIA here today. Yeah, when the spies, just a little bit of continuation technical situation here following the breakout last Wednesday. And really, when you're looking at the price action today, it really does start with the breakout last Wednesday because that's the change of behavior. That's the characteristic change you want to see in a technical situation. And you break out of that very clean resistance level. And it's really been off to the races ever since that situation. And so looks like we're finally getting that leg after the original multiple time frame breakout that kind of shockingly was about 3 weeks ago. Now we're seeing that continuation from the breakout last week and off to the races here today. Now I will say this, not a lot of news today that would stop kind of the information that was coming in last Friday. So just a little bit more continuation technical situation coming in off a positive cash open here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And give me that cues chart, Matt. One of the things that you look for in earnings season, and it's way too early to tell anything. We'll see those stories and develop. Is where does leadership come from, right? Who is the overperformers? Tech overperforming today. We've seen evidence of tech overperforming in different spots. We haven't seen a consistent run, but this is a really clean breakout by anybody's standards, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and it's once again continuation. When you're in a trend, you look at the breakout as a continuation of the trend, and so you're already in a trend with a series of increasing levels of support, and now you're just talking about a continuation breakout against a little bit of a high base. It's a very good look from a very clean technical situation. Now, I will say this: the S&P has achieved an all-time high. We're talking about that breakout against an all-time high. We have not seen that on the NASDAQ. Remember, the NASDAQ took a pretty big hit in last earnings season, and this has been a recovery over the last couple months, just getting back up to what the NASDAQ lost at the very beginning of last earnings season. And so good recovery. You're seeing early signs of momentum. I will say this, you got two very important earnings reports coming out later on this week on the NASDAQ. Keep an eye on Taiwan Semiconductor, keep an eye on ASML. Those two catalyst stocks are going to certainly have something to say about the technical condition.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, not a lot of economic news to report today. In fact, there's not going to be a lot of economic news to report this week. This is going to be a very earnings focused technical week. All due respect to retail sales and Philly Fed index and a couple Fed speakers or a couple dozen Fed speakers for all we know that will come trotting out. This is going to be really focused on earnings and technicals all week long, isn't it, Matt?
Absolutely. I think the earnings conversation is going to take center stage here. And it's not that the economic reports are not important. Retail sales is an important economic report. Listening to the Fed is important to understand the context of what the Fed is seeing out there. But when you're in earnings season and you're hearing directly from those companies like Goldman Sachs this week, Bank of America this week, United Health Group this week, obviously Taiwan Semiconductor, ASML this week, you got about 40 S&P 500 companies reporting this week, and you got a lot of regional banks as well this week out of, IWM and those small and mid cap areas as well. And so when you start to get into, I want to call this the heart of earnings season. I would say that kind of is next week and the week after. But when you're getting into the kickstart to earnings season, and you're getting into the mode of hearing from these companies on EPS, revenue, forward-looking guidance, everything we talk about in between quarter to quarter is how we view the economic landscape. It's how we view the monetary landscape. There's a lot of speculation, quite frankly, some informed, some not so much, but there's a lot of speculation in how the economy is going to perform, how these companies in earnings season is going to perform, what's going on from a geopolitical situation, and what can we parse from the Iranian situation. A lot of speculation happens in the marketplace, but in earnings season, it's really about listening to these companies, what they are saying from a how did they do in the past? Well, that's the EPS and the revenue side. How are they doing in the future? That's the guidance side of the equation. And so when you hear truth from the market, you certainly need to listen, and the truth of the market is earnings.
Yeah, listen, and we'll be breaking those down. Matt does a great job breaking those down here in Tackle today. And then in the lounge in extended conversations, Matt, no earnings to report this morning. A few companies to report, though. What do you got for us today?
Yeah, the earnings conversation really picks up tomorrow morning with Goldman Sachs, Bank of America reporting earnings. But as for today, we do got three stocks in the news here today: Boeing, Siri, and AppLovin. Boeing's in the news for a variety of negative reasons, quite frankly. Delays on another plane. That's kind of been an ongoing conversation on Boeing delivering planes since really kind of the 737 MAX from all the way back in 2018. They also face challenges with that ongoing strike, and now they're laying off 17,000 people right now, right about 10% of their global workforce. And typically when a company lays off 10% of their workforce, they usually get a pretty sizable bid, but not this. It's a different conversation with Boeing here. Obviously, a challenging environment. On Sirius Satellite here, they had some positive news as Berkshire and thus Warren Buffett came out and added more shares, whereas Buffett is kind of dumping Apple, is kind of dumping Bank of America out there, but he's not dumping Oxy, and now he's adding to his Siri position a little bit. So some positive news coming out on Siri. And then AppLovin had a downgrade here today from a buy rating at Goldman Sachs down to a neutral ranking at Goldman Sachs. And I can tell you right now that Goldman Sachs was simply just looking at how far AppLovin had ran in the short term. They cited that by basically saying the risk to reward is not as balanced as they would like to see. And so at the end of the day, they downgraded simply due to because AppLovin is such a good stock. And you can kind of see that on their price response here today. Gap down, recovered the gap down channel. I do have AppLovin generally overextended here from a technical perspective, so certainly do understand that that reward to risk ratio being more balanced right now. They'd like to see it on the return side get a little bit higher, and so you are a little bit overextended, but a good trend nonetheless there in AppLovin. Siri got a little bit of a gap up today as they are looking to try their best, as my Siri on my cell phone kept trying to talk to me right there, but they're their best to do a little bit of a reversal here on the daily chart. They got a little bit of a double bottom here.
That's not a terrible support level it's coming off of.
No, it is not. It is not. It's coming off that. You also have slowing momentum in that trend as well. So you look at that big downward movement in price, followed by a shorter downward movement in price. That's the concept of slowing momentum playing out there as well. You look at it where it's kind of coming into, you got some support right around the 22 to 20 level as well from a historical perspective. So Siri, Buffett sees a value opportunity at the low point, seeing a little bit of reversal action happening on Siri. Outside of that, like we were talking about with Boeing, just a little bit of not just one negative news story on Boeing, kind of an ongoing series of negative news stories happening on Boeing. Just cannot get out from under themselves. Got a massive restructuring in front of them. Got a lot of rebuilding in front of them. And that happens after the confidence comes back in. And there is not a lot of confidence in Boeing here on any level from anybody. So that's what we got for stocks in the news here today.
Yeah, listen, China announced a nothing burger on Saturday, weighing on commodities a little bit. We talked about this in the Trading Justice podcast, where finance minister comes out and says, "Not going to tell you anything today. Might tell you some things coming up. Commodities, where a little bit of volatility at the futures open, like we discussed, might happen." But that is an ongoing story that will break news when it happens. Dollar up for no real good reason, Matt, on a Monday morning, but wanted to take a test here. You still have this. I still have this as a potential resistance zone where we get some hesitation, right?
Yeah, I do have this as a potential hesitation area where you do start working into some little bit more important resistance levels. The 20 weeklies right there, kind of testing that here today. You got the 50 weekly on top of the price action. And so I do see this as a general slowing momentum environment, given the fact that there's some challenging resistance levels, but the dollar's also on a freight train. So there's obviously a edge to the buy side. However, you do have those very, very challenging resistance levels. Anywhere from 103 all the way up to about 104 is a lot of resistance on the dollar. But as long as the dollar goes up, it's going to camp out some of that commodity side of the equation. And you said, China didn't really do anything over the weekend, but we really didn't see that additional volatility in the commodity space that we saw last week. If you'll recall, last week we saw that big downward pressure in price on silver, kind of saw that same thing in copper, in gold. Today, you're really just seeing an inside candle, quite frankly, on silver. Nothing to be too concerned about as we kind of start the week here this week. Copper, same type of conversation here, trying to battle at support, trying to put in a little bit of support handle. You got an ultimate confirmation candle right above that 4-5 level. So keep an eye on that 4-5 level. And then on gold just doing a little bit of a doji here today, as it did catch the 9 a little bit here. But yeah, at this point, you're talking about the 2700 breakout.
Yeah. Last thing to look at, got back-to-back big greens on Bitcoin, Matt. And we can look at crude oil.
Just want to take a quick peek at it. Just yep, still
Yep.
it's all still crazy.
Yeah, but we got back-to-back big greens on Bitcoin for the first time in a while. The last time we saw this didn't lead to much in September, but these two feel a little bit different. These are really, this is a power move, Matt. What do you make out of it?
Yeah, power candle and increasing volume on Friday on that big upward movement in price. You're seeing a really good follow through here today on Bitcoin as well, coming right back into some of that overhead right around that 66,000. You also saw Coinbase obviously jump up as well. You saw other miners in the crypto space start to form a little bit better technical formations as well. So, it's obviously like you take a look at Coinbase here, trying its best to do a little bit of reversal. Bitcoin is just a very challenging instrument to catch, quite frankly. It doesn't give you a lot of that development that you would love to see from a technical perspective, but you can't discount the momentum you're seeing over the last 2 days, especially when you're doing on increasing volume. One of the biggest flaws we have in the market right now on that breakout in the market last Wednesday is the fact we have not seen increasing volume here. Well, you did get that on Friday. You're probably going to get about average volume here today. And so it's starting to pick up, no doubt about that, on Bitcoin.
Now, listen, we're going to continue these conversations on a macro Monday here in the Traders Lounge. Be sure to sign up for that Gold Rush AI webinar coming up. And while you're at it, sign up for a 15-day free trial, tackletrading.com.